All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Equally Heard. I'm your host, Mark Fleming, and today we are with Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing today?
How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. Can you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Okay, my name is Jeff Snyder. I am a autism self-advocate and fan fiction writer. I am based near Providence, Rhode Island, and I currently am and my basic goal is to teach and help those with autism affected by autism and special education. I do a I do a weekly I run a Facebook group and a Facebook page about autism advocacy, and my objective is again to help out families and those affected by autism, and to teach them how to embrace it, and also to help get a better understanding from a person with autism's point of view.
Cool. So what do you do for work, Jeff?
Well, aside from my advocacy, my day job is I work for a major supermarket chain in the Northeast. I started off as a bagger. Now I'm a janitor. Been with this particular company for for about 10 years now, and I mean it's a good company. I mean we're unionized and all that. So.
Oh, that's cool. So what's it like being a janitor, having autism and working in that environment?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. It can be very, very hectic. Especially with the pandemic and all that. People are, it all started back in March, of course, with people panic buying over toilet paper and all that stuff. But, but there's a lot of like multitasking you got to do, and it can be sensory overloading for someone like myself. I mean, I do the best I can, but it can be sensory overloading. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah, I get that. I worked in a grocery store for a few months, and what I found, I was a stock person, and for some reason, every time I was around the bread, I get major headaches. I never knew why until a few years ago. I found out, oh, I have sensory issues. So then I was like, oh, that's what that was. And so a lot of people don't realize those things because they're not there all the time, right? Like sometimes those things take time to kind of have our brain build up. So I completely understand the sensory issues in that setting. You said you write fan fiction. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, I write. Well, for those of you who don't know, fan fiction is you write stories based on like cartoons, movies, television shows, and a majority of my fan fictions are based on Disney and My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. I since this past October, actually, I've been doing a postseason fan fiction series. I completed my season 10 fan fiction project back in March, and I am currently about more than halfway on season 11, and I have season 12 coming up. I'm starting that in the fall.
Wow, that's a lot. What kind of got you into writing stuff like that?
Well, I've always had a knack for doing fan fiction writing, and writing in general, particularly creative writing. When I was in high school, I took a creative writing class my senior year. But before that, particularly throughout my education, in fact, I would do a variety. I mean, I did a lot of creative writing, and because I have that sense of imagination. And one thing I did that demonstrates my writing is when I was in high school, I would treat my history papers like television documentaries. I don't know if any of you out there have heard or seen episodes of E! True Hollywood Story. And what I would do is model my paper based on the show and do like all the mock interviews and, add my own little spin. So that gave me a chance to expand my creativity.
Cool. That sounds great. Uh, as a individual, what would you say is your greatest strength?
I think my greatest strength is that I have very strong wisdom. I mean, my folks said that I'm the smartest one in my family, which is somewhat true. I mean, I'm not trying to, put anybody down or anything like that. But uh, one thing that I one thing that I would classify as a strength is that I'm very knowledgeable. I'm also very good with, knowing about airports and airlines. And one of my passions, of course, is traveling, and especially now, one of my big things is to travel to conferences and trainings to to teach people about what it's like to be on the spectrum and give them a little, point of view about what to expect with autism. So that's probably my greatest strength. That, and again, my creativity is also one of my greatest strengths.
Cool. So talking about kind of traveling for advocacy, how has that kind of taken a toll recently with everything going on?
Oh well, I mean, it's been tough. I've had, a lot of all my travel plans for this year have been scrubbed by this pandemic, and it's been a struggle. I mean, it's been an absolute struggle with doing these online conferences. I will say that. I get people are trying to be safe. I get that, but with Zoom conferences, it's not. You don't get that much of an impact as you do with an in-person audience. It's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get that. That's one of the reasons why I love my job is that my advocacy is one-on-one, right? I get to talk to parents one-on-one, clients one-on-one, and so it makes a bigger impact. And obviously, just being in person, you make a bigger impact because if it's on Zoom or anything, people are looking around. They're not necessarily always paying attention. They get up, go to the bathroom, do all that stuff. In terms of advocacy, what would you say is your biggest goal?
My biggest goal is again to speak out, is again to talk about what it's like on the spectrum, and because some people will view our diagnosis as something that can be cured, which is clearly not true. Autism for me is something to embrace. We are who we are. Don't go changing. Don't go changing for someone that they are truly meant to be. It doesn't matter if you're on the spectrum. You can follow your dreams. You can, follow your goals. And for me personally, I'm happy with the way I am. There's no doubt about it.
That's great. Yes, everybody should be happy with who they are. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not that easy growing up and having people, kind of adults especially, being able to talk about, hey, I enjoy who I am. I like everything about myself is really uplifting for a lot of individuals growing up. You stated something about people going after their goals. What are some goals that you have in your life?
One of the goals I accomplished 5 years ago, actually, I got my own apartment. I've been living in this particular apartment for about 5 years now, and I enjoy it. Of course, that doesn't mean I miss being at home, but given the situation at the time, I wanted to get out, and I've always had that was all. One of my main goals was independence. I won't get total independence in terms of, driving a car or, things, or managing my own money. I do get financial support, but one of my goals that I unfortunately had to get rid of was to think I was going to have financial independence. I will say that people on the spectrum, or anybody for that matter, will never have control of their financial independence, sole control, because there are moments where you're going to have to put some of that money towards, whether it be your rent, your car, or anything like that. That's one thing I've kind of had to accept in recent years. So,
Yeah, that's great that you live by yourself. That's a huge accomplishment, because I know that there's a lot of individuals with disabilities out there that can't do that, unfortunately, or just don't believe it's possible. And so just being independent living like that can send a lot of positive messages to other people. But we're going to switch over because this is a fitness kind of podcast type thing. So what were your experiences with physical education growing up?
well, physical education. Of course, I took physical education. When I was in elementary school, I took the regular physical education. We did kickball. We've done various forms of activities, whether it be hula hoops or things of that sort. And then when I was in middle school, we did one of the requirements was to take a shower and change into gym clothes. It's not a problem for most people. I get it's a requirement for the class or things of that nature, but for me personally, it was more of an inconvenience. And I would always give a doctor's note to the gym teacher, and that exempted me from taking showers or putting on gym clothes. When I was in high school, I didn't go into gym until I was in 10th grade. And for me personally, the big thing for me was walking. And because one of my biggest weaknesses is that I stress eat. And when I stress eat, then I put on the pounds, my body doesn't work well. So fitness walking was a big deal. And then I was also on cross country my freshman year of high school. So, and then I didn't do gym classes junior year, but then I did more fitness walking senior year, and then I did a weight training class in senior year. So for me personally, I got more benefits from like fitness walking because walking in general is more beneficial than anything, I will say.
Cool. Well, I'm glad it didn't seem like you had too bad of experiences going through PE. I know some people do. And I know that it's a lot of it's focused around sports, and that can be very troubling for individuals that don't like sports. And so part of the reason I bring that stuff up is to kind of figure out what the experiences are like. And it's kind of interesting just to see that. Are you physically active now?
Well, for one thing, I've been working on is I've been working on portion control, and I try to get out and walk a couple times a week, whether it be 2 times, 3 times a week. Because the other thing is about walking is that, as a writer, when you stress eat, you lose your creativity. So doing things like eating better and going for walks, it improves the creative mind, and that is very benefit, and that really helps me out when it comes to doing my writing and all that. So
Awesome. Yeah, exercise has been proven to improve cognitive functioning, which is being creative, being able to sit and write for lengthy time. So that's great that you're getting some exercise and working on yourself. That's always the biggest goal, is just keep working on yourself. So we're going to end off. Do you have any advice for others with autism as they're going through their journey in life?
I mean, the only piece of advice I would give is to just embrace autism. Sure, there's going to be some. I mean, it can be very scary at first when it comes to the diagnosis, but over time, over time, it's gonna it'll change your life for the better. I mean, just embrace it. Keep living every day of your life, and autism is something that will more or less help you than bring you down. Sure, it can. I always say that autism can be both a blessing and a curse, but focus more on the blessing than the curse side of things.
Yes, that's always stay positive. I know that when I was first diagnosed, I wasn't in that mindset, and it took me a while to start to accept who I was. So that message is definitely very, very important. And then any advice for parents that have children with autism?
For parents, I would say it will be scary at first, but you got to remember that autism is something, again, can be embraced. I mean, when you're an autism parent, the only thing I can tell you is to learn about it. I mean, if you're struggling with autism, there are plenty of like groups on Facebook or in your local communities. Go and do something like that. I mean, you'll get to know other parents who are in the same boat as you are, and they will, and you can relate to them so easily. And sooner or later, we're all, they've been saying this over and over again, we're all in this together. Autism parents, as much as they're as autism people or things of that nature, we're all in this together. Just remember that. We're all in this together.
That's a great message. Great message. Before we end, is there anything else you want to add that maybe we didn't cover that you just really like to harp on during interviews or during your speeches?
Nothing I'm aware of. If I am available on Facebook, I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure to have you, and it was great to get to know your story a little bit more, and thank you for sharing it with us. And everybody, I hope you enjoyed the second episode of Equally Heard, and we will see you next time.